Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Daniel Petro, and I'm a developer advocate at Xano, and I'm so excited to be here with my friend Shawn Charles from Thesis.
Hi, I'm Shawn Charles, developer experience lead at Thesis, and looking forward to building a generative UI app with Thesis as well as with Xano.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me pull up a slideshow that I've prepared for us today, and we can go ahead and dive right in. Hope everyone is having a great day today. All right, so we are here to basically go through and talk about how you can utilize Xano and Thesis together. And we already kind of introduced ourselves, but we can go ahead and is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself, Shawn?
I build a lot of developer communities, so if y'all are looking for a nice, developer community, you're looking for developers or tech folk, I often run lots of tech communities on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If y'all are looking for literally tech, I love building communities for tech folk.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's dive right in here. So I think a lot of the audience already know what Xano is, but for anyone who doesn't, so Xano is your entire backend. You get a powerful single tenant server that is scalable, which is hosted on GCP for our managed plans. But on enterprise, you can deploy anywhere you want, anywhere that takes Dockers and Kubernetes, and you can even deploy on-prem. And with that, you get a flexible database, Postgres, and then you get our no-code or visual development kind of API builder or function stack, because you can do anything you can with code visually, but you can also write code if you'd like to. And it also comes with Redis and a bunch of other good stuff that you're used to with traditional tech. So I'm going to hand this over to Shawn right here. I'd love it if you could tell us what Thesis is, talk a little bit about the C1 chat module, the Crayon SDK, and any kind of use cases that you're seeing right now, people using Thesis for.
I love it. So C1 Chat is a generative UI API that basically, if you have a backend like Xano or MCP servers, you can on the fly in real time generate some UI for that user experience. So in this case, we'll probably be generating some realtor data and generating on the fly tables, charts to visualize that data. Think if you were trying to make a real-time app and you needed real-time data from Xano or real-time data from your MCP server or auth, you're trying to put in an actual function and tool calls. Those are something that you could readily make with Xano and then actually make the front-end agent with C1 by Thesis. So being able to visualize on demand in real time each of those endpoints, those tool calls, the auth endpoint, and what have you, and be able to test not only those things real quick for our developers trying to speed up their process. That is literally the number one thing we see people being able to go from nothing to a system that's connected to MCP servers and is giving you the type of user experience you're looking for. And really getting a lot closer to what they feel like is an agentic experience. So the first use case is having developers build with it, build other developer tools for their companies, as well as to quickly ship out their end products, the actual use cases. Think trying not to remember the examples that I can ask you about.
Yeah, the ones on the landing page are honestly amazing.
Boom.
I've
So
I'm particularly fond of the like personalized uh, education dashboard or learning environment. That one just speaks to me, and it makes so much sense because we all learn in different ways, right? And so something that could adapt to my learning style is just like perfect.
and do check out a lot of the examples and the use cases there. We try, just like ChatGPT, generative UI will be tailor made for everyone. So like your use case is going to be completely different from the things I like to use it for. So do check it out and check out a lot of the example recos. Right now, the ones I'm interested in are the analytics, being able to immediately create dashboards as well as any qualitative or quantitative comparisons, building charts on demand for CEOs, executives, or whoever I need to create a nice experience flow analytically. So we have a bunch of analytical examples as well as, search and a bunch of other use cases. Do check them out as well as add your own use cases. If you have one that isn't currently there, check us out in the Discord. I'll be there adding use cases as they come.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you telling us about that, Shawn. Um, moving along, so in one of our previous releases, we released our powerful MCP builder or server builder. And one of the really cool things that you're able to do with this, like Shawn was saying, was be able to communicate with natural language and equip your agent with these tools, right? And because it uses that same visual function stack that we have in Xano, you can create any kind of logic or any kind of tools that you can come up with. And we even have a one-click convert an API to a tool. So you would definitely want to add a little bit more to it, but we'll get into that later. And the other really cool thing is that it doesn't necessarily have to be pulling data that's stored in your Xano database, right? It could be pulling data from any other data source or hitting any other third-party API. It's really up to you. So in a recent release, we added MCP triggers, which are great, and they allow you to basically log the connection and dynamically adjust the tool set and the tools that are passed in. And this basically gives you greater access into role-based access control. And that way, certain team members can only have access to certain tools. If somebody, shouldn't be allowed to do something, you can make sure that even though all the tools in the server are actually there, you can modify them on the fly based off of the person's role. And then you can also utilize middleware inside of the MCP servers. So you can execute something before or after that logic of the function stack executes within the tool. So I know we kind of like dove right in, but I realized we didn't even kind of explain what generative UI is for the most part. I'd like to pass it back to you real quick, Shawn, if you don't mind, and give a high-level explanation to those people that are out there that have never even heard of generative UI.
Boom. So when you're thinking about generative UI, I'm thinking about generating those components on the fly, not statically coded or hard coded into your project. These components are composed by the LLM deciding what UI components to put on the screen, what buttons to put where. And those schemas, those tables, those eventually UI dashboard is generated on the fly by the model rather than me telling it, hey, we need to put in a chart, or even just putting in the code for a chart. Having the model be able to stream those components in directly from the back end, straight from a model. So not thinking about like generating some code, it being static and you pushing the code. It's more of you pushing this whole generative UI interface, and it generates an interface on demand for your users.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about kind of how it works under the covers for those who are curious. And I'm particularly interested in hearing about how C1 is interacts with the Crayon SDK that the team at Thesis have built.
Boom. So, and I might just share a little bit. So you might see some things on my screen. So these are, okay.
Let me get that set up 1 second. Sorry.
Only because y'all are asking for some technical bits.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And there was a question. So can I use Thesis API straight from the Xano API? So in theory, we could set it up that way, but you would need an extra portion. If y'all can see my screen, on the right is the actual backend call you would need in order to generate some UI in the backend. And in theory, yes, we could put this behind a Xano API call. But
I've got an example of that to show later.
Boom, and we'll definitely show you how to build that out. But that's not the end of it. Just because you get, the generated UI doesn't mean it'll render correctly in the front end yet. Right now, it'll be a fancy markdown. Think of domain-specific language, a DSL. But the second step, actually integrating the front end, is how not only are those things streamed to the front end, maybe using something like Crayon. Feel free to go check our documentation to see how that's specifically being done. It's all open source, so you could go check out the docs. And this is the major component that actually allows you to actually render in real time those components. You do get, streamed of our DSL, so markdown, but being able to render those things in real time on your server, as well as stream those components directly to your application. This is exactly where it's happening. Just literally 2 code snippets, and then you'll be able to do that. So you could, in fact, stream down the backend, that DSL straight through Xano API, but you would need these components on the front end. So you do need those 2 parts. Thank you so much for the question.
Yeah, and we'll do a Q&A at the end for the people who have other questions. I definitely want to. I can't explain how excited I am that we're doing this, guys, because, yeah, I stumbled upon Thesis and I was like, I had been thinking about Gen UI and I was like, man, I want to build something like this. And then I found Thesis, I think it was through Reddit, I believe. And man, I was just blown away. I was like so happy that somebody built this so I didn't have to. Because that's the thing in software development. Just because you can build it doesn't always mean you should, especially for those of us out there who are building for our organizations, or as a software development agency building for our clients. It's not always the best idea to reinvent the wheel. And that's why I'm so happy that we're doing this today with Thesis.
Exactly. And our founders had that same exact experience. They had built this API, this model that could generate UI, and eventually realized this could be more. Like, this is its own thing. and decided to build out its own product to what you see today. So do check it out if y'all are looking to build on top of a generative UI platform or a generative UI API, one of the first of its kind. Do check it out. Very quick way to go from zero to actual deployed application, a generative UI application.
Yeah. Shawn, what do you think about hopping into the demo right now?
If you could give me a couple of seconds, I was trying to get it up and running in the background.
Yeah, for sure. Take your time. I can go ahead and start sharing how we do it on the Xano side. And I was also thinking after we wrap up, or we could, send out an email to all the people who registered, and I can share, the example repo, the Xano snippet that goes with it, and some other resources to, help them get started quickly with Thesis and Xano.
Boom, that sounds perfect. And I did, in fact, get it up now.
Okay, let's go ahead and start with what do you think? Should we start with the backend and then see the demo, or?
I actually think we should just jump into the demo and then show them how it's made, so that they know, they can see the end, application, real life application we're trying to make today. And hopefully y'all can follow along and make your own application as well.
I love it.
Feel free to give me that window screen eventually. Okay, you might be seeing, yes, you are seeing Xano chat. So shout out to Daniel for building out the front interface so that I could easily grab in some tool calls and polish it up. So hopefully Daniel will be showing you how to build up this login functionality from the back end using Xano. I happen to think that it probably will be a couple of clicks, and would love to see auth being reduced to a couple of clicks. I don't know how that's going on, but Daniel will definitely tell us. And wonderfully, you'll get your actual application window with whatever your interface is, and then an actual chat window for C1 by Thesis. And in this case, we were trying to get realtor data. This is me literally putting in the query and being able to, at the end, get nice charts with my realtor data. And in theory, I could have, asked for anything and got any type of charts. But just being able to grab and make that database call in English. And in theory, it could have grabbed a form. I just wanted to guarantee we're getting this stuff. And we'll show in the example you going through a form and getting all of this data regularly. So being able to, in real time, get real-time data from a database like Xano and visualize it so that it's actually working UI. You can actually interact with this. There are buttons that you can actually press and actually interact with real-life data in real time and build out that generative UI workflow either for your development team or for your end users. We would love to see what you could build. And yeah, that's definitely, this is our demo specifically for some realtor data. I know Daniel will go all through that, and then I'll show you at the end how to deploy this, as well as get your demo repo up and running.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Shawn. And just to be clear, everyone, that chat module in the middle was the C1 module. And so you can also access a version of it on the Thesis console, which they've been doing some incredible upgrades to recently. I highly recommend checking that out. That was like my very first test that I did was directly through the console, just added my Xano MCP server URL, and it just, bam, started working instantly. It was incredible.
I love to see it. We are like the top of mind when we go into AI is 0 to wow factor. So many people are, using these products and they all look the same, and you never get that, oh, this feels like something new. So being able to go from, hey, nothing to now you're generating UI components and getting your use case done is my pivotal thing when I'm thinking about developer experience for an AI workflow. I want it to be one click. I want you to be able to go to the playground, literally paste in your MCP URL, and it just will work. And thankfully, with the engineering team at Thesis, they're able to get some of my features done fast enough so that y'all can have some of those things, the playground that can connect any MCP server in seconds, a button that can literally deploy all of your customizations and get your ready-made application out within seconds rather than hours. Really trying to boost that speed to MVP so that you could get something out to your teams. It's really pivotal for developers to be able to go from, hey, no one knows about the tool, to you have an example of whatever using your stuff as well as the tool to explain to your team. If we could get that down to 5 minutes, I would love it. But right now, it still takes, those 2 code snippets. If you do know where it is in your infrastructure, it could take, 5 minutes. If you don't, hey, engineering time is expensive. Hopefully it only takes 5 minutes. It only took Daniel 5 minutes to get this up and running. So hoping that experience is for all developers.
100%. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I love Xano and the developer experience that Thesis has provided as well. And there's a reason my POC is not very pretty. I did not want to spend time on designing. I wanted, like Shawn was saying, I wanted to go from 0 to wow really quick. And so, yeah, let's dive right into the Xano backend now.
And I like that he said it wasn't pretty. I thought it was pretty. It literally customizes to whatever theme. And with us not having to do lots of CSS, automatically makes it look on brand. Like magically, you don't know how much CSS we hate doing. That is instantly done nowadays by in this case, C1 by Thesis, but whatever API, being able to get instantly brand themes is something you can do with Thesis.
Yeah, and I'm glad you touched on that because I hadn't messed with any of it, but I know you can not only, like, they've made it highly customizable, but then also I think you can build out your own custom components to render, right?
Yep. Not only that, you could put in your own UI kit. So if you want to change the whole interface, you could, in fact, put in your own UI kit and get it to render your own custom components.
That's awesome. All right, let's dive right in here to our Xano backend, and let's go ahead. Let me move this real quick. Hopefully, y'all can see that. We're just inside our workspace right here on the dashboard, and you can see me and Shawn have been accessing this backend quite a bit over last night and this morning. And so let's hop into our tables right here. So I have a few extra tables. Sorry, I didn't clean it up beforehand, but I wanted to leave them here just so we can touch on it a little later. So whenever you create a workspace, it automatically comes with a user table for you, and it auto-generates those authentication and CRUD endpoints, so you don't have to. It literally works right out of the box. So The only other thing that I've really done here is, so if you remember back in Shawn's demo, right, he logged in. So we wanted not only to have it behind our auth, but we also wanted to persist our conversation history. So I created this thread table, and you can see both me and Shawn have our own threads, and you can see the array of messages right here. So this is basically already handled for you with all these helper functions that Thesis provides with the kit. And I chose to do it this way, but there are other ways that you can do it as well. And this was more from going, for me, going 0 to wow. So basically, to show you what we were accessing through the MCP server, I went ahead and just grabbed some free real estate data from 2001 to 2022. We've got over 1 million records here that we're searching through. And this was just a free data set that was available through a Google search. And as you can see here, I literally one click uploaded this from a CSV, and it automatically imports it into my table. If you're familiar with Xano, you probably already know about that. But let's go ahead and go into our API groups here. So this is the authentication group that I mentioned that is auto-generated for you. And this is how we were, signing up and logging in. And if I go back here, I have another group. And these are the auto-generated CRUD endpoints for all of my tables right here. So you can go ahead and see, the post endpoint for creating a thread, etc. And we do have our, for some reason, I am not seeing it. So basically, let's go ahead and add a CRUD endpoint for our real estate table, and we're just going to have that be a query all, and we're going to go ahead and apply authentication to this. And now we've got this query all records, and we actually want to configure this so we can add some inputs through a database link and go ahead and import all of those fields as inputs. And maybe we don't want to use them all. And maybe, so we can go ahead and just like hide this input or modify it however we want. And then we can come into the query and we can do a conditional search on the table based off of things like the town, and just connect that to our input for the town right here, and then continue on basically however we want to conditionally query this information from the table. And then we can also modify the output here, sort it, etc. So basically what we have is, if you go and click these 3 dots, you can use this AI tool. And so what this is going to do is that it's going to create a tool out of this endpoint. So I can go ahead, I have 2 servers created. I can go ahead and create a new MCP server and just say this is a Scratch demo, and go ahead and save that. And now we are inside the tool. So if I go ahead and check my security or my settings right here, I can go ahead and add my tool instructions. And that way the LLM will know when and how to use this tool exactly. And then if I just back up into my MCP servers, you can see that it's already created that server for me. And I can go ahead and grab that connection URL and copy and paste it into the example repo, and it will just be up and running. So let's go ahead and go into the one that we've actually been using, Shawn. So I want to just pull up the request history for this server. And as you can see here we've accessed this tool recently, and we can go ahead and drill down into every single request. What inputs were provided? What were the outputs? So I've paginated this call, but if we go directly into this tool, you can see that I'm querying directly from a table, but I don't necessarily have to do this. I also added fuzzy search by adding an index to that field so I can fuzzy search on the town, because I was having a little trouble when the C1 chat endpoint, the LLM, was trying to use values or, you know, I had issues. Let's just put it that way. So I've modified it. And like I said before, this doesn't necessarily have to come from your Xano database. This could be coming from anywhere. We do have connectors for accessing third-party databases like Oracle, etc. You could access data that lives anywhere or do it directly through an API request. So I highly recommend messing around with this and checking it out. All right, so last thing. What else were we going to show, Shawn?
One thing I wanted to point out, a lot of people don't, I literally had a conversation with someone yesterday who didn't necessarily, when they think of MCP servers, weren't thinking about being like any action like that you take on a server, you could in theory be taking with an MCP server. That you can hit it just like any API endpoint, whether it's just gathering data or doing something with that data. But now it's integrated into your LLM, your agent, your AI application. So if people aren't understanding that using this dashboard, you can build out any API endpoint, any functions you wanted to run, any, what have you, any literally business logic that you need to do with your data can be handled in your Xano backend using this dashboard and visualized in real time using a generative UI application like Thesis. So being able to, in real time, get these MVPs in real time, test out my tools, and basically get to that end product a lot faster than having to make all of the actual components hard-coded, static,
Right.
for my use cases.
And one thing that actually happened to me when I was testing, it's actually so impressive how quickly I can go back and forth and just iterate on it, and essentially fine tune and get better results. But one thing I found super interesting was that the C1 API was basically having trouble with some of the inputs on one of the tool calls in one of my earlier iterations. And it did something I found like that actually blew my mind. It basically generated a form for me for the inputs of the tool call, because it was struggling with it and it kept erroring out. And it was like, well, here's the inputs I'm using, and it rendered a form within the chat component, and it asked me if I wanted to adjust any of the input values. It was truly mind-blowing and so exciting to see. But what I wanted to move over to was someone in the chat, I believe, had a question about how to route it through Xano. So I've basically created this demo, and I haven't connected it just yet, but this is how I would handle it. So instead of using some of those helper functions, I could directly build this logic into the API. So if a conversation ID is passed in with the request, then we're going to just add the messages to that conversation and append that array essentially. Or we're going to create a new conversation, and then you would handle any other logic you want, and then you could directly make the request to the Thesis API and return it in the same exact format to get it working through the code with the module. And that way, you also open up a lot of other possibilities, right? So going back to discussing about the RBAC, so we could dynamically inject different system prompts based off of who's accessing it or what agent they're using. And this could all be done through the endpoint. We've got an incredible feature called the template engine, which is a Twig template engine. And I found myself using this so much. So you could basically, have your system prompts here and then dynamically inject, user information or any kind of variables that you want. And I think that's something that's really powerful. And the whole idea behind generative UI, right, is this personalization. So the more you could tailor that system prompt to the individual user, maybe you have your users store their preferences inside one of your tables, right? And that way you can pull in that information about that user, and then that agent is 100% going to be personalized to that person's experience and the task at hand. So I thought that was something worth calling out. But yeah, this is essentially how I would build it out, and you can do it other ways as well.
Exactly, and I love that latent experience you have because it is an LLM and can try in its best to help the user. If you get things wrong, it doesn't just error out. It says, "Hey, here's the error. Would you like me to fix it? Here's a form if you wanted to fix it in a different direction." Literally, like trying its best to like do the next steps. It could just do the next steps, but having an interface that lets you feel like you're in charge of pressing the next button, of going in the next direction, feels a lot better than just being given a chat box and being let go. It always feels a lot better when the thing feels like it's steering in a direction that we should be going, rather than I'm just clicking, clacking, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But seeing the model already know, hey, there's a problem. Here's the problem. Can you help me fix it? Here's how you can help. Like, is a lot more reassuring than having to read a whole paragraph to figure out whether the LLM even knows what I'm doing. Is it making this stuff up? It's really hard to see that it's making stuff up when it gave you a form and showed you the exact point. You fill in the form, the exact point is fixed. It's really hard to believe that it didn't know what was going on in that instance. When you build UI and a user experience for a specific problem, it feels a lot more agentic, like an AI application should.
100%. And well said, Shawn. And honestly, the opportunities are really endless here. You have so many options to expand on this with all kinds of adding extra logging and the personalization aspect, like I mentioned before, and like the RBAC for different teams. And honestly, Shawn, would you mind? I don't think you could basically create a SaaS out of this. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's part of, I didn't read the licensing, so I apologize for that, but I'm glad that I have you here. And sorry to put you on the spot.
In theory, we are B2B. We are making an API in which you build on top of Thesis. As well as, we have some open source packages and things like that. But in theory, we want to build with this. C1 by Thesis, is a API and a model that, just like ChatGPT, it's great to have, an LLM, but an LLM powered application is like 10 times, the amplifier. Just having ChatGPT is great. Cursor is a specific application and interface that helps for a specific thing. If we could get more of those use cases, yes, you can just use the generative UI application as is, just like you could use ChatGPT as is. But having an actual interface that's tailor-made for a specific use case, in this case with Cursor for code generation. In the use case we're going to show you, it's for realtor data. So people trying to sell homes, whether it be the end user, an actual realtor, or the developers building for that realtor application, being able to go from 0 to MVP, working with our database with real life information, hopefully in a couple of code snippets updated. That is the dream, being able to go from 0 to generative UI application, hopefully in 60 seconds or less, is really what we're going for. If you are looking for a generative UI application, do check it out. We're hoping that we could build a lot more use cases. I'm going to show you a use case. I don't know if...
Before I pass it back, I just wanted to call out, I know I forgot, but the only two things you really need are your MCP server URL for the example repo, and then your auth-based URL, which you can copy right here. And then, like I said, if you go to the AI tab and go to your MCP servers, you can connect or grab that URL connection. I know that in the example repo, we put SSE, but that's being deprecated. And I already confirmed it's also working with the streaming URL. So you can go ahead and grab that. What do you think if I pass it back to you, Shawn, and you can walk us through deployment right now?
I am sitting here trying to make sure everything is going well. Don't you love real-time demos?
Yeah, please, demo gods.
Yeah, please don't break my demo right before. All right. I had to somehow run and get an API key. All right. We love it. We love it. That's why they pay me the big bucks. All right. Well, I'm going to pull that up. Let's see if I could also pull up the Xano. That should be the Xano, no? Okay, the Xano's one is not up anymore. Let's see if I could get that back up. This is the CoinGecko one, and let's get Xano up.
I do have my ID pulled up as well.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, if you could bring it up, that would be great. And me trying to find boom, 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 and npm, def, boom.
Okay.
Right. Me sprinting through my terminal trying to
let's go, Shawn.
Up. And let's get back to here, and then let's see if I could start actually streaming anything. Boom. Let's just give you my entire screen because I love leaking API keys and stuff like that. All right. So here are a couple examples. I might go through some more. But first of all, the realtor data one, being able to obviously grab info from Manchester houses, residents, literally being able to talk to your AI application, and in theory it actually worked. Did I cut off something? I think I cut off something.
I've got a working demo.
Please grab up your demo. I have two.
Okay. Yeah.
Running.
No worries.
it literally was already just showing me it. So I don't know why now.
All right. So as you can see here, it's showing up in the terminal in the bottom here when it accessed that real estate tool call. But let's hop back over real quick right here. And whoops. There we go. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy my request right here and open up a new chat. And like I said, these are persisting conversations, and they are sitting behind Xano authentication. So I'm going to see if it can get all real estate sales. Yeah. All right. Now, okay, I love it when it does this, when it gives me a tab bar. And this is because also, so you see it all rendering in real time. And then I can go ahead and hover. Look at that. It's even highlighting the legend right there for me. And then we can go to our sales data, get that spreadsheet view, which is beautiful. And then we have not the greatest bar chart for the query that I just put in, but honestly, this is pretty darn impressive. And then if we hop back over to my IDE, Shawn created this great README with some instructions right here on passing in your Thesis API key, the auth URL, like I mentioned before, and then your Zano MCP URL. And then this is, so I cloned the repo, and the only other change that I did was I added a system prompt right here directly in the code that is being passed in into our route right here where I'm importing it. And then passing it in right here into our messages. So I want to actually step back to that README because Shawn also did something awesome, and he created this one-click deploy with Vercel. You want to talk about that, Shawn?
Oh, me trying to get it on my screen. Yes.
Okay. Hold on. Let me switch over to your screen real quick. All right. There we go.
Boom. And it immediately goes straight to the repo. Okay. And y'all are seeing me. Okay, cool. So wonderful Xano Thesis MCP repo. Do check that out. I'm probably going to send this to Daniel so that he can send it wherever he needs to send it.
Yeah, we'll send it in the email.
It is Xano Thesis MCP in my GitHub repo. And literally almost all of it is taken care of except for these auth URL and the MCP URL. Daniel just showed you how to go make. And then the last thing, this Thesis API key. So in theory, you do in fact have to go to thesis.dev and actually create an account, sign in, and it will show you wonderful API keys. And at the bottom, you can just create a new API key. And hopefully you'll be able to save that and literally just pop it in to your, I'm trying to see where my tabs are. Why do my tabs keep disappearing?
It's all good. I think we are coming up on time, and I really wanted to do a Q&A. So,
all right, so let's finish it here. Once you've signed up, there's an actual playground you could be playing with to get those tool calls. For instance, if you could still see my screen, add MCP server, I could literally paste in, I literally had the link to the MCP server. But trust me, bro, if you paste in that link to the MCP server, me trying to go grab it. It'll be able to add that tool call right here. And then once we're finished with the customization, we figured out exactly how we wanted our application to not only look, but actually act. We added system prompts. We decided we only wanted to get charts or whatever your system prompt is. You figured out what model and temperature, all that customization, you're able to get the code and it'll export a literally ready-made copy to be deployed to Vercel. And thankfully, if you did go to that repo, there is a button at the bottom to deploy that automatically to Vercel. One-click deploy with Vercel. So you literally click that, and it will auto-magically render some things to Vercel. It's trying to log in and all that stuff.
Yeah, no worries.
It'll go and download the repo with all of your customizations and deploy it to Vercel so that you have an already made application to test as well as to demo for your teams.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn. Let's hop over to the Q&A portion. Let's see. I know there was one question that somebody had around the EdTech.
Boom.
Let me pull that up. And would you like to answer that one?
Have an example of your EdTech agents use case. I'd love to see that. We actually do. Please check out our example repos. We had too many examples for me to pull down each one of them. In each industry, we have an example. Do check our EdTech one. Basically, I built out another demo, basically transforming any, homework style, like lesson plan from a teacher to be customized for each student, so that a teacher will come in, what are they trying to teach? And then a student would be able to say just things about them, and then they would teach that lesson plan in for that specific student. So being able to get lots of use cases like that, but also getting a developer who can work with a teacher to build out that user experience. So in that case, it was me working with my mom, who's a special ed teacher, to be able
to
awesome build out that homework plan for her students. These are things that in theory my mom could do by herself. All of those buttons, I didn't do any coding in any of these examples. She could build that application herself, but oftentimes it does take an engineer like me that knows the buttons, that knows how to deploy the stuff, to work with our users to build out that workflow for them. I didn't know that this would be an amazing thing. My mom immediately said, hey, this could be used for these lesson plans. And in 30 seconds, I give her a workflow that works for her. So do check out our example repos. We have lots of analytic use cases that you saw in CoinGecko, as well as Zano MCP. If you wanted to connect with literally abundant amount of MCP servers, generate data, synthetic data for your applications, literally build a backend in seconds for your generative UI or AI applications. Do check out some of the tools we showed you today. We would love to see what you could build.
Awesome. It's a great answer, Shawn. Thank you. We've got
We'll hopefully, we'll probably share it out. Daniel will get you on that.
Yeah, like we mentioned before, we will send you an email for those who have registered, and we will include the repo, the snippet, just so you can get started quickly, and any other information that'll be helpful. We got another one in the chat for you, Shawn.
Boom. So mostly
model. Sorry, go ahead.
So another thing, check out our arena. So we have literally an area in which we test our models against different LLM text generation. So for instance, most of our models may be based off Claude 3.5 because we found out that it does great UI just from our testing. We have an arena in which people can go in, generate UI with several different models and basically rate them and decide which one was better. Currently on our leaderboard, Claude 3.5 is dominating. But for specific use cases, Grok 4 might be better. So really having a model that can speak to all of these different languages are essential. But I happen to think, Claude 3.5 does really well. But you can obviously attach C1 by Thesis to pretty much any model.
Awesome. Really appreciate that answer, Shawn. And we've got another one right here from Mark Peterson about any non-chart examples.
Boom.
Do you mind if I take this one real quick? Well, I think Shawn would probably be able to answer better than me, but like I mentioned before, the form example directly within the chat was a highlight for me, not only for what I had discussed before about plugging in the inputs for the tool call that the LLM was having trouble with, but there are so many other use cases, like if you're trying to capture some form data or anything like that. But there's probably even more use cases that Shawn could talk about.
So basically, if you're making any generative AI application, you are going to need to make a UI, some interface to that pops up, that interacts. If you are making that, if it's not standard, a statically made UI component, it would make sense to make it with a generative UI API like Thesis. So for example, let's say in our education example, we're not making charts. I would be making an image with a form at the bottom with like 3 bullet points, A, B, C, and D. That's kind of how homework is, right? So none of these are actually charts. Image tag, some buttons, like carousel. These are some things that would be great in e-commerce use cases as well as edutech. There are other use cases simply dependent on the components. For instance, iframes for YouTube embeds. Things like that. Really, whatever component you can use to render on the screen, C1 can generate in real time. So if you have a use cases where all you're doing is in images, well, we make lots of carousels, lots of whatever UI images fall into. As long as you want to do that in real time for your users, if you have an AI use case, this will be a great front end for that.
Awesome. Great answer, Shawn. And looks like we're a little over time, so I think we're going to have to call it here, y'all. But thank you so much to everyone that tuned in today. And I highly recommend, checking out Thesis and just build out some POCs, and really appreciate Shawn and the Thesis team for what they've built and for joining us today on the live stream. Any closing words from you, Shawn?
I appreciate y'all. There are still lots of questions. Go check out the Discord. I am readily in there, as well as our CEO, as well as our engineers are in there readily answering questions. I do see more questions. There will always be more. But make sure your questions get answered. There are going to be people who are building the next thing on top of this. I'm going to give you the exact words Google CEO said. There probably won't be any user interfaces like in the future. They probably will all be generative UI. Like,
yep.
Do check it out. People are building these things at scale. Google and enterprises are thinking about building these things at scale. Nobody is necessarily thinking about building one static form for my dad. No, we are thinking about building things at scale. So is there a way that we could make that form for my dad. My dad still needed the nice form. Can you generate that in real time for him so he still gets the form and you don't have to hard code it? If you can, you'd be making a generative UI application and your users would thank you. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you everyone. And like Shawn said, join us in the Thesis Discord and also on the Xano community, where we already have a few different generative UI discussions that have come up because I posted my thesis demo there and people are interested. So let's keep the conversations going, and who knows, we might be doing another one of these soon. So take care, everyone.
See you later.